This is the incredible story of the platoon that walked barefoot. A soldier was killed while trying to save a child, and so his entire unit did something that has never been seen before. A long time ago, there was a military unit stationed in a war zone. They had just received orders to leave. After everything was loaded up, the soldiers lined up single file to march to their vehicles. Suddenly, the last man in line started running. He was sprinting towards a small house near the edge of the camp. A little girl was standing outside with her hands raised, screaming for help. She was trapped in some tall grass and couldn't get out. The girl's parents were nowhere to be found. Without hesitation, the soldier jumped into the tall grass and pulled the girl to safety. But when he emerged from the grass, everyone gasped. The soldier had lost both of his boots, and now he was marching barefoot. Confused, the commander asked what had happened. The soldier simply pointed to the child, who was now safe. Everyone understood. The soldier had sacrificed his boots to save the child. It was an incredible act of bravery and compassion, but no one could have predicted what happened next. The commander ordered the troops to turn around and go back. When they arrived at the house, they saw the girl's parents. They were so grateful for what the soldier had done. The parents told the soldiers to come inside and have some water. It was hot outside and everyone was exhausted. But there was something strange about the house. There were no chairs or tables. In fact, it almost looked like a shrine. On one wall was a picture of the soldier who had saved the girl. Below the picture was a pile of shoes. Each shoe was worn and dirty. It was then that the commander understood what was happening. These were the shoes of the men who had died in this war. These brave soldiers had fought to protect people like this little girl. They had given their lives so that she could live in peace. The commander felt a lump in his throat. He knew what he had to do. He removed his shoes and socks and placed them on the pile. One by one, the rest of the soldiers did the same. It was a symbol of humility, respect, and loss. The commander then turned to the soldier who had saved the girl. He said, "You are the bravest man I know. You have shown us all what it means to be a hero." Then, still barefoot, the commander led his men out of the house and back to their vehicles. They marched in a funeral parade, honoring their fallen comrades and celebrating the life of the brave soldier who had saved the girl. As they walked away, the commander looked back at the house. He could see the girl and her parents standing at the door. They were watching the soldiers leave. The commander knew that these brave men would never be forgotten. The video of them marching barefoot was uploaded to the internet and quickly went viral. It has now been viewed over 10 million times. People all over the world were amazed by the courage and compassion of these soldiers. Many families were deeply touched by the story. One woman wrote, "My son is in the army. He risked his life to save a child. I am so proud of him." Another person wrote, "These soldiers are true heroes. They deserve our respect and admiration." Some people, however, were not so impressed. They thought that the soldiers were only doing this for show. They said that the soldiers were not risking their lives. Instead, they were following orders. But the commander knew the truth. He knew that these men were not just following orders. They were risking their lives every day. They were putting themselves in harm's way to protect innocent people. When they arrived at their base, the soldiers were greeted as heroes. They were given medals and certificates of bravery. But for the commander, these were just empty symbols. He knew that the real reward was the gratitude of the people they had helped. The commander gathered his men together and spoke to them. He said, "We have just come from a very special mission. We have helped to save the life of an innocent child, but we could not have done this without the help of our fallen comrades. They gave their lives so that we could be here today. We must never forget their sacrifice." Then, still barefoot, the commander led his men to the helicopter. As they flew away, the commander looked down at the base. He could see the people waving goodbye. The commander knew that these brave men would never be forgotten. From that day on, the commander and his men continued to serve with honor. They carried on the legacy of the fallen soldiers, always remembering the brave men who had walked barefoot for them. Soon, other units began to hear about the story of the platoon that walked barefoot. They were inspired by the bravery and selflessness of these soldiers, and so they began to do the same thing. Whenever a soldier died, his unit would march barefoot in his honor. It was a symbol of their brotherhood and their commitment to the fallen. Years passed, and the war finally came to an end. The soldiers returned home to their families and friends, but they never forgot the brave men who had walked barefoot for them. Every year on Memorial Day, the commander and his men would return to the village where they had saved the girl. They would lay flowers on the grave of their fallen comrade and tell stories of his bravery. The people of the village were grateful to these soldiers. They knew that these men had risked their lives to save their daughter. They also respected the fallen soldier who had given his life for the cause. One day, the commander was interviewed about his experience. He was asked why he and his men had walked barefoot. The commander replied, "It was the least we could do. He walked for us. We walk for him." The commander's words were simple but powerful. They captured the essence of the story of the platoon that walked barefoot. These soldiers had walked barefoot as a sign of respect for their fallen comrade. They had done something that had never been done before. They had set a new standard of courage and selflessness. The story of the platoon that walked barefoot is a reminder that the greatest heroes are often the ones who walk among us. These soldiers risked their lives every day to protect innocent people. They showed us the true meaning of bravery and selflessness. Let us never forget the brave men and women who walk among us, ready to help those in need. This is the story of the platoon that walked barefoot. It's a story about ultimate sacrifice, profound respect, touching farewells and unity in the face of loss. It all started with a young comrade. He was just 20 years old when his life was cut short. What made it even more tragic was the way he died. The medic had been on patrol when suddenly an improvised explosive device detonated beneath him. Despite being seriously wounded, he managed to crawl to safety, shielding a child with his own body. In doing so, he sacrificed his life to save the innocent. He was honored for his bravery, but in a way that no one had ever done before. The entire unit decided to do something symbolic to pay tribute to their fallen comrade. Every single member of his platoon would march barefoot in the funeral parade. This was a huge decision, especially because it was wintertime, but they were willing to endure any hardship to honor their friend. As they stood there without their boots, they symbolized their grief and respect. Each step they took echoed the heavy weight of their loss. Before the funeral began, something else was done. Dozens of shoes were placed at the coffin. Each pair symbolized one soldier from the platoon. They left their footwear as a final gift to their comrade, a tangible representation of their bond. It was a powerful symbol of the connection they shared and the emptiness his absence created. It was a goodbye, a salute, and an acknowledgement of the sacrifice he had made. This simple act of placing shoes at the coffin resonated deeply with the families of the fallen soldiers. It was a visual reminder of the camaraderie their loved ones had experienced, the bonds they had formed and the values they had upheld. It spoke of a brotherhood that transcended even death. In the face of such profound sorrow, this small gesture offered a moment of solace, a silent understanding that their children had not been alone, that they had been surrounded by friends who cared for them deeply. In the sea of black suits and somber faces, the absence of boots stood out, becoming a universal symbol of humility, respect, and loss. The image of the platoon walking barefoot quickly gained recognition. It was posted online, and in a short amount of time it was viewed over 10 million times. People all around the world were moved by the story behind it. The simplicity of the gesture resonated with people from all walks of life. Many saw it as a profound expression of the values held by those who serve. The willingness to make the ultimate sacrifice, the deep sense of camaraderie, and the quiet dignity in the face of adversity. All of these qualities were embodied in that single image. For some, it brought back memories of loved ones who had served or were serving. It was a reminder of the sacrifices they too had made. Others who had never served gained insight into the strength and resilience of those in the military. It was a testament to the human spirit and the bonds that can be forged in the most challenging of circumstances. When the commander was asked about the decision to walk barefoot, he said, "He walked for us. We walked for him." It was a statement that encapsulated the essence of their brotherhood. Their fallen comrade had literally walked towards his death to save others, and now they were walking in his honor, carrying the weight of his sacrifice on their shoulders. The impact of this tradition went beyond the realm of the military. It became a source of inspiration for many. The story of the platoon that walked barefoot was a reminder of the power of human connection, the strength that comes from unity, and the importance of honoring those who serve. The image of the barefoot soldiers became a symbol of courage, sacrifice, and respect. When other units heard about this, they wanted to do something similar. Other platoons began adopting the tradition of placing shoes at the coffins of their fallen comrades. It was a way to pay tribute to their fallen brothers in arms, to show respect for their sacrifice, and to demonstrate the unbreakable bond they shared. The tradition spread like wildfire, echoing the values of sacrifice, unity, and respect that had been established by the first platoon. As news of this touching ceremony spread, It wasn't long before other military units around the country and even abroad took notice. Inspired by the profound respect shown by the initial platoon, other groups began incorporating similar gestures into their own farewell rituals. The simple act of placing a pair of shoes at the coffin became a common sight during military funerals. It was a testament to the universality of the values these units upheld. Imagine the scene. Rows upon rows of neatly placed boots or dress shoes at the foot of a coffin, each pair silently paying homage to a fallen comrade. The tradition had evolved into a powerful symbol of remembrance, a tangible representation of the countless footsteps that had marched in unison, shared in hardship and stood in solidarity. Each morning when the sun rose over military bases, soldiers would lace up their boots, ready to face the day's challenges. But now there was a new meaning to that ritual. They were not just putting on footwear, they were encasing their feet in a symbol of brotherhood, in a silent promise to stand by their fallen brothers and sisters. During training exercises, fatigue and exhaustion were constant companions, but the soldiers pressed on, drawing strength from the memory of those who had walked barefoot in their honor. Every step they took echoed the message, "We will carry you." It was a vow to uphold the values of sacrifice and unity that their fallen comrades had embodied. In moments of solemn remembrance, the soldiers gathered around the memorial, their faces etched with grief and respect. As they placed flowers or wreaths at the foot of the monument, they did so with a profound understanding of the ultimate sacrifice that had been made. The bare stone or marble seemed to absorb their sorrow, their whispered words of gratitude carried on the wind. With each passing year, the tradition grew stronger. New generations of soldiers embraced the custom, ensuring that the memory of their fallen comrades would not fade with time. They understood that the true measure of their brotherhood lay not in the absence of boots, but in the strength of their shared purpose and their unwavering commitment to one another. The story of the platoon that walked barefoot serves as a timeless reminder of the profound sacrifices made by those who serve. It's a testament to the enduring power of unity, respect, and remembrance. And with each step they take, each boot they lace up, and each memory they honor, the soldiers keep the tradition alive, ensuring that the fallen are never forgotten, and their sacrifice continues to inspire. Now it's your turn. What does this story mean to you? What thoughts or feelings did it bring up? Share your story below.